for the who actually made it to today's meeting. Sending my greetings. And in getting started to today's section, I will get started by introducing myself. My name is Rick Welch. Also a Nigerian, but I reside in the US. A travel consultant and immigration lawyer at the same time. And I'm also certified IATA facilitator. So today at the section, we are going to be looking at some salient or a bit piecemeal to the Canada visa application. Like everything about what we'll be talking about today is Canada. How to relocate to Canada, how to migrate to Canada, how to get to Canada, what to do in Canada, and all. So those are just the stuffs we'll be looking at today. And in sequence to today's section, we are just going to be having a piecemeal of what the entirety of the concept of the Canada immigration or relocation process or plan looks like. And in view to that, if there will be need for maybe an extensive or a further broadened one, we might to some extent get to introduce us or ask us to participate in the forthcoming travel complexity program so as to actually gain explicit or total knowledge of what the entirety of what we'll be discussing today will look like. So today, what we'll be having today will be serving as a kind of a prelude to the complexity masterclass. So today we'll actually prepare us adequately against the masterclass that is scheduled to happen in a few days from now. And in getting started, I actually want to crave our indulgence that we give the very best of listening ears. Let's get to pay rapt attention. Let's get our writing materials and every other supporting devices or gadgets that will actually facilitate the rate at which we assimilate and actually garner knowledge in today's section. And at the end of today's section, I'll be giving out the equivalent of 50 US dollars in Naira. So I'll be giving that in Naira to just one participant. And the payment will be done almost immediately after the section. So it will interest you that if you get paid the best of attention, you might be getting to go home today with the equivalent of 50 USD Nigerian Naira. And that's by the current exchange as displayed by Google. Though it might not do so much, 50 USD might not be so much, but at least in a bit, it will help you. It will help pay for your data subscription for this section and most likely the next subsequent section. And by Google displayed rate, 50 USD is 79,800 Nigerian Naira. So I'll just make it a wrap up figure of 80,000 Nigerian Naira. So at the end of today's section, someone in this section or one of the participants in today's section will be going home with 80,000 Nigerian Naira. And for you to actually get to have that, all you need is just to pay the best of attention. And when you actually pay rapt attention, you actually get beat to all that will be discussed, and you'll be able to ask your questions and answer my own questions and stand a chance to win 80,000 Nigerian Naira. So good luck to everyone. So in today's section, we are going to just be looking at a prelude. What I mean by prelude is a bit what we are going to be looking at today are just a preparatory section to get us well equipped and ready for our complexity masterclass. So, but first, before we get started, let me actually get to clear us, or let me actually get to put what truly exists to fact on some few myths about migration or relocating to Canada. I do understand in recent past, a few of us in this section must have actually tried to migrate to Canada. Some of us might have actually put in one or two efforts, to see that we actually get to Canada. And during the course of those processes, there were a few statements, there were a few ideologies, there were a few facts that were actually built on our minds or registered on our minds that has actually made the entirety of the process to look so difficult. So first thing getting started, let's get to see just a few myths before we go over to what we'll be having today. Now, the first myth is visa approvals for Canada or any nation, it's not spiritual induced. So what do I get to mean by spiritual induced? What I mean by spiritual induced is it's not a factor of spirituality. Like you don't have to do some form of prayers, or you don't have to participate in some spiritual exercises, or you don't have to engage yourself in certain routines to actually be approved or for your visa to be granted. So I say first, we are going to be looking at the understanding the pathway to Canada relocation. But before we get to do that, the first approach is we are going to just look at a few myths about Canada application. So when we get talk about myths, we are simply trying to talk about some ideas or some erroneous belief that exists around the application for Canada, which invariably to some extent does not actually add up, and they are not the core requirement for approval. So the first myth is for every application, be it Canada or any nation you are trying to get an immigration visa for, one, you should get to understand that every visa approval denial is not spiritual. What do I get to mean is you don't actually to engage in some spiritual exercises. You don't have to do some spiritual activities to actually get approved. All you should understand is for every approval, for every denial, it's simply the total adherence to the application requirements. The total adherence to the application requirement, because if you don't get to meet the application requirements, regardless whatever effort you actually put in, you will be denied or your visa will not be approved. So that should first be understood. So first, erroneously, you don't have to engage in any form of spiritual activities to get your visa approved. All you need to do is you just have to meet up with the terms or the document requirement for approval. Because if you don't get to meet the conditions or the terms or the requirements needed for you to get a particular visa, you shall not be approved. You will not be approved. And a few times you get people say, I was actually denied because the application officer doesn't like me, or the interviewing officer just hates me. One thing you should also get to know, that fact does not exist. The processing officer or the application officer or the immigration officer or whoever is handling the approval or denial of your application is a staff. So you should get to understand that those people are staffs. They are employees of the government or working under the consular or the embassy or working hard up with some other agencies that spearhead the entirety of the activities. So that should be registered. No employee, no staff can actually deny or approve your visa because there are actually rudiments and principles that govern deniers and that also govern approval. Sometimes back, I could remember a story of someone who said the moment he got to be interviewed, he actually made application for US visa. So he actually said that upon citing him, the application officer just denied him. That's not true. The processing officer is a staff. He or she can be fired. He or she can be laid off. And he or she is also answerable to a vetting team who are even greater than him or her. So in that case now, there's no approving officer or interviewing officer who can actually deny or approve your visa. So in the case where you are denied or approved, it is not the immigration officer, it is not the interviewer or the processing officer that denied you. You were denied or you were approved all by your document. So if your document don't actually add up or the document you provided are not licit or legal enough, you will still be denied. So that also should be registered. Now, the next thing we should also get to remove from our thinking and from our thoughts is Every time you are denied, you can make an appeal. But most times we don't make an appeal. Now, why do you make an appeal? So once you have a denial for a particular visa, that is not the totality of it. That does not mean that that's the end. Okay, everything is coming to an end. Okay, let me forget about this application, go try another application. That shouldn't be the case. For every time you are being denied, you actually have the vector power to query the denier. Okay, why do you should know why you were denied. And if you actually have a very strong reason, doing that alongside an immigration lawyer, your application can be revisited and you can still be approved. So for every time you get suffer a denial or you get a rejection or a visa denial, one thing you should get to know is you can still query the verdict of that application. So you get an immigration lawyer, your immigration lawyer can still write back to the consular or to the embassy and they will revisit your application. And if they, for any reason or by chance the girl find out that you were unduly denied or you were unjustly rejected, your application will be revisited. And once it is revisited, you can now get an approval. So that also should still be registered in our mind. That should be registered in our mind. And apparently also now, there is a few persons that tells you that once you apply for UK, that UK database is linked to Canada database. I don't understand we are muted. I'm sure some of us would have been giving our views. That's not true. Every organization or every nation in the world actually have total autonomy only to their own database. And you can, a particular nation, for instance, if I'm applying for UK can only get to give out or let go of my information to the Canada embassy or whoever is in charge in the Canada immigration process only upon requests. And that's more reason why when you're making an application, you have to admit or deny if you actually want your information to be shared with third parties. So if you don't want your information to be shared with third party, there is no government in the world who will actually let go your information or start disclosing your information with other nations. That is an infringement in your non-disclosure human rights, and you can still sue the state or sue the government for that. So let's also get to erase that completely from our mind. That if I make applications for UK and I was denied for UK, if I want to go for Canada, Canada government and UK government information databases linked together. So Canada will just get to pick my informations and blah, I'll be denied. That's still not true. That's not true. So before any government can let go your information, you must have admitted, you must agree to that. So at the time of making your application, you either admit or reject if you want the government to actually share your information with third party. And in the case where you don't want that, you actually, it will not be shared. They will not get to share it with anybody. And also now, some persons also feel, if I've been denied, can I still apply? Sure. As long as you don't get a visa band, you can apply for more than even 10 times, though that's not anybody's portion. That won't be any of our portion. For every time you get a denial, you can still go back for a reapplication. And the good thing about the entirety of those processes, for every denial, there is a reason. So no government in the world will actually deny you a visa without stating the explicit reason why that visa was denied. That has never happened and will not by chance get to happen. So for every time you get a denial, there's always a reason why you were denied. So just like the regular examination we do in high schools and colleges and the likes, for every denial or for every failure we get is as a result of we not getting to write the marking scheme or supplying adequate or substantial facts to back up the answers we are offering. So the same also applies to the visa application. So for every denial, you'll be given an explicit reason why you were denied. So now, if I get to know, okay, XYZ is the reason why I was denied, all I need to do at the time is when I go to make another application, I will get to ensure that XYZ reason for my earliest or previous denial is averted. So I'll get to breach that. So that also should stay registered in our mind. And lastly, though it's not a so common myth, most persons always get to have this thought, but I think it's necessary we get to erase that. Now, let me get to say there is no such thing as study visa, there is no such thing as work visa, right? For some of us who have actually engaged the services of some traveling consultant or some immigration personnel, we get to hear them tell us, okay, I've gotten your study permit. So now that I've gotten your study permit, I need to get you a study visa. There's no such thing called study visa. The right and the only immigration acceptable term for that is study permit. So if anybody has or you actually engage the service of a third party immigration personnel or a traveling consultant in your home country, and the person gets to tell you that he or she has gotten you a study permit, now it's time for you to get study visa, that does not add up. There's no such thing called study visa. The only thing that exists is study permit. So once you have your study permit, that is automatically what is known as your visa. So you can actually get to use that and come down to Canada. The same applies to the work visa too. So no such thing called work visa. So what we have at the time is work permit. So in view to this now, I just want all of these myths to actually be taken up so that we can actually have a well-defined system. Now, the first myth is, remember, the system is not spiritual. So it's not like, I don't understand, coming from an African background, somewhere in the south in Nigeria. Now, there is a general saying that my village people. So you do get to see a few people say, my village people are following me. The reason why I'm not getting this visa is because of my village people. There are no such things called your village people. Every denial you suffer, it's as a result of inability to meet the requirement for approval. And the good news tonight is, for every visa application, there are speculated requirements, which are spelled out openly on the government's immigration website. It's just like a student who is actually going to write an exam. Let's just get to picture it that way. Most courses we did in high school or in colleges or varsities, some lecturers or tutors will give us area of concentration. So the same applies to visa application. There is already an area of concentration, AOC. So before you actually made an application for what type of visas, be it resident and temporary resident visas or permanent resident visas, there are AOCs. So all you need to do is you have to stick strictly to the area of concentration. They said you need XYZ document, ensure you get legit and legal documents, right? And once you have that, you'll be approved. And don't forget, you weren't disapproved because the processing officer doesn't like you. Remember, he's a staff. They can lay him off, they can fire him. So he is also regulated by some set of principles or laws, which are known as immigration law for a particular approval instance. And because of those laws now, so he or she has to adhere strictly to those laws, because if he or she goes outside the principles that govern approval or denial, he or she can be laid off or fired. And nobody wants to lose their job because of you. So that should be registered in your mind. So once you have that, at least that will clear out some part of the erroneous beliefs we harbor in our minds and thought about some of these approvals. And lastly, no visa application is hard. Let me just close that with this. No visa application is hard. A few times you get to hear a few people saying that to get Canada application is very tough. That's not true. Every nation in the world welcomes immigrants except North Korea. One part of the world where tourists or immigrants or from nationals from other nations might not be welcomed or might not get an easy flow to stay is the North Korea in the world. But every part or every nation in the world has stringent immigration laws. The same law that America uses to approve you is the same laws even the countries that give you e-visas also use to approve you. I know a few persons who claimed, okay, since I can actually get visa so easily, how about I go with a second passport option? Great, second passport is not a disadvantage, it's not something so cruel, but those things are way expensive. And some of those things runs between $100,000 to even 150, 200, and even $500,000. just for you to get some of this green card by acquisition, just for you to buy a second citizenship. And putting that today in a Nigerian naira, that's a whole lot of funds. So not everybody can actually afford second citizenship. So some persons like getting Canada visa is that, let me just buy Canada green card. It's possible, that is feasible. It takes time. It takes more than 6 months in most cases, depending on the region, and it costs a fortune. It costs so much. Those things actually come at a very, very expensive rate. So you will not want to take the chances. That should be if only if we have the means even. So getting visas or making an application to any nation is not difficult. Once you adhere to their rules and the terms or the conditions for approval are met, Eureka, your visa is around the corner. So let's dive into what we'll be dealing or treating today. So the sole reason for today's section is for us to discuss about relocating to Canada. Now, trust me, there is no better place like, so, okay, let me not get to say it that way, because I stand to be corrected. Outside the fact that Africa is third world country, outside the fact that Africa is developing, let's say Nigeria is even a developing one, there are still a whole lot, 1,001 reasons why one should leave. But that is not the basis why we are having this section. The essence of the section is just to give us a piecemeal thoughts on how to relocate to Canada. So first, let's talk about Canada. Then after that, the next part we'll be looking at is understanding Canada immigration pathways. Then we talk a bit about the express entry system. We talk about some provincial nominee programs. We look at work and study opportunities. We look at family sponsorship, settling in Canada, and we now go over to questions. So let's just talk about Canada in a bit so that we actually have an idea. I know if I get to ask, okay, let me ask someone in the section. Let me just pick a random person in the section. I just want to ask a question. And if you get the answer, most likely, maybe you qualify for the 50 USD freebie. Okay, I have a few persons. I have so many persons, so I'm only going to pick at random. And I don't know if the admin can unmute. There's Adiza. Adiza, I don't know if you can hear me.
I've unmuted everyone.
Okay, great. Okay. Now, so great. I want to ask a question now. Adiza, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, great. Greetings to you, sir.
Is it Hadiza or?
Okay, is Adiza a male or a female? Okay, it seems Adiza is not available. Let me go pick some random person.
I'm available. I'm a female.
Is available?
Okay, great now. Okay, Adiza, greetings to you, ma'am.
Hello?
Adiza, can you hear me?
Hello? I can hear you.
I can. Okay, greetings. Yeah, I just want to ask you a question, and that will actually form the basis for our section now. Have you been to Canada in the past?
No.
Okay, that sounds great. Have you applied Canada before?
I would have. I actually tried because then I had a program to attend first for what's it called? I didn't really apply, but I just
did you register? And you click from your email.
Okay, yes, that's great now. Okay, great. Now the question we're asking is just a simple one. Now Canada is in what continent in 5 seconds? 1, 2, 3, 4.
North America.
Okay, now this is the ethic for winning the 50 USD. If I don't ask you a question, you don't talk, right? Okay, now the question will just be directed to just one person. Yeah, great. Canada is in North America. Great, but I don't think Adiza got that. So let me just get to give us a bit piecemeal of what's Canada. Now, when we get talking about Canada, there are just these few facts about Canada I want you to note. They are very important, and they might actually come up during the.
Hello, Mr. Wells. Hello, Mr. Wells.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, sir. Can hear you now.
Okay, great. Now, sorry, let me go back to what I just said. Now, I said if for you to stand a chance to win the 50 USD equivalent 80,000 Nigerian naira in this section, you just have to be asked a question. If you are not asked a question and you get to answer, that will not be honored. And now I said, let's just get started. Now, let's talk about Canada. I just asked her, desire if she have been to Canada. She said no. And if she has actually made application before, she said she almost tried making, but she didn't. But at the time, I just want to give us a piecemeal of what Canada is, just for you to have an overview of what Canada is. Now, the first thing about Canada is, first, Canada is the second largest country in the world by land area, not population now. Because if we get talking about population, we should start talking about places like China and India. But when it comes to Canada, when it comes to land area, Canada is the second largest in the world. And Canada is located in North America, right? So, and Canada has several natural landscapes. They have mountains, they have forests, just like every other nations, and they equally have lakes. And the reason why, that's more reason why you get to find out most of the provinces in Canada are named after an island. For some of us who actually have explicit knowledge about Canada, you must have heard about stuff like Prince Island. So there are a lot of lakes in Canada. And Canada also have more than one ethnic group. It's also multicultural. And their basic language at the time is English and French. So that is more reason why Canada becomes an epicenter for global migration. The reason is because for most parts of the nationals in the world, or foreigners from other parts of the world, you must have been colonized as a francophone country, which is French-based, or an anglophone country, which is English-based. So it harbors these two persons. People from francophone countries can migrate to Canada and speak French. People from anglophone, like our noble country, Nigeria, way back, can still migrate to Canada and speak English. So the two official languages in Canada are English and French. The capital city is Ottawa. So the capital of Canada is Ottawa, and some other places. The major cities in Canada are Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. Ottawa is the capital of Canada, but major cities. So, but when we get talking about major cities, like major places,
now my
just like Nigeria.
the one where they collect money.
Okay, now major cities are Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal. And Canada has one of the best economy. Yeah, when you talk about economic-wise, Canada economic system is truly and actually balanced. Yeah, it's truly balanced. So that is just a piecemeal of what we get to say about Canada. And it's on record that Canada has zero racial discrimination. Unlike the European nations where racism or the black race is to some extent still not appreciated so much. When it comes to Canada, that is actually abolished. Everybody is respected equally. We all are respected equally. Now, let's talk about some Canadian immigration pathways. What are some of the pathways? When we talk about pathways, we are talking about the different routes with which you can come to Canada. What are the different ways? What are the different routes? What are the different programs, pilot programs, avenues and channels with which you can come to Canada? So we are going to be looking at that under two arms. We will look at the temporal resident migration programs and the permanent resident migration programs. So first now, we'll be looking at the temporary residents. Now, when we talk about the temporal migration programs, but before we even get to look at that now, let's just get to know that the different pathways with which we can actually come to Canada include the following. Now, one, we have express entry system. For some of us who have actually tried Canada, you must have heard stuff like express entry system. So when we talk about the express entry system, they are actually permanent routes. Express entry system fall under permanent routes. So what are express entry system? Express entry system include pathways or routes like federal skilled worker program. We are going to see all those things. I'll share my screen where you're going to see these things live on the Canadian government website. So we have federal skilled worker program. And the good news is we actually have a material on these things already. So I believe the convener of the section, at the end of the section, we give every participant one freebie, which is a PDF on the different Canada migration pathways. So the PDF will be sent to everyone for free. I'm soliciting to the convener to give that PDF material to everybody for free so that everybody can still take the time and go over them. And just like I stated earlier, a bit what we'll be doing today is just a piecemeal. And what do I mean by piecemeal? I'll just give us a tip on how all of these things, and just show us a tip on how those things applies. Then at the travel complexity section of classes where we are going to have a full combo pack, where all of these things will be trashed practically. But today we'll just do a bit to a little hands-on practical. So for express entry system, we have the Federal Skilled Worker Program. We have the Federal Skilled Trade Program. Now, when we talk about Federal Skilled Worker Program, it's simply getting a job with the Canadian government. So even the Canadian government still employ nationals who are not Canadians by birth, marriage, naturalization, or even by purchase. So you can still get to work in the Canadian government. You can work directly with the Canadian government. Example, the Canadian military. You can still join the Canadian military. You can still join the Canadian security forces. You can still join the Canadian police. And you can still work with the Canadian government in administrative roles, name it. Now we have the Federal Skilled Trade Program. So when we talk about Federal Skilled Trade Programs, they're actually programs with which you can actually come on board with that just has to do with using a particular trade. Maybe an artisan, an handyman, you got a skill. The government also recruits the likes of forklift operators, truck drivers. Government also have needs where all of those persons are also needed. So you can actually get a job under the express entry system via the Federal Skilled Trade Program. Now, we have the Canadian Experience class. It's actually people with some special ability or people who are well grounded in certain areas, who have actually proven to be juggernauts or to have so much mastery. Then they can still explore or adopt this route to come. Now, we have the Provincial Nominee Program. It's also a stream aligned with the express entry, the provincial nominee program. Now, some of us must have heard about that, the PNP. So now, when we talk about the provincial nominee, now what it simply means now, this is actually a kind of a pool selection that is done by a certain province in Canada, right? And it's interesting to know that virtually all the provinces in Canada has their provincial nominee. That makes it so amazing. Canada has 12 provinces, and every province has a provincial nominee program. But now, if you at all you want to explore, because I might not take the time to just start saying everything, but I'll just list the provinces and just say a bit about them. If at all you actually want to explore the provincial nominee program, now my advice is only get to apply for provinces that are not fully developed. Remember from the beginning of the section I said the capital of Canada is Ottawa, and Canada has 3 major cities, the Toronto, the Vancouver, the Montreal. So those places now, if they're trying to get their nominee programs, they're already crowded, but there are some little islands in Canada that are not yet developed. So if you participate in those provincial nominee programs, you stand a better chance. Now, let me just give a rundown of all of the provincial nominee programs in Canada. Now, I did say that Canada has 12 provinces, and all of those provinces have their provincial nominee program. So I'll just give us a rundown. If you actually want to get adequate information, you joined the complexity and the travel complexity masterclass. So there are so much freebies you'll be getting, a lot of PDVS materials you'll be getting. And I think that class will prepare you to get direct consultation with us. I believe the conveners will be fair enough to do that. Now, one of the provinces in Canada, we have Alberta. Now, Alberta has so many programs. We have a Better Advantage Immigration Program. I won't get to talk much about this because we have limited time, and I think we have gone past 1 hour since the commencement of the class, and I just have to give to us as it seems. So Alberta has what is called their Better Advantage Immigration Program. We have their Better Opportunity Stream. We have their Better Express Entry Stream. We have the Rural Renewal Stream for Alberta. We have the Rural Entrepreneur Stream. That's one. British Columbia has their own, which is called the British Columbia Provincial Nominee Program, BCPNP. Now, the British Columbia Provincial Nominee Program has actually enrolled so much persons in the past. Now, why you are taking this now, I will still get to tell us the fastest way to come to Canada. There are routes you must not explore. Now, never explore express entry routes. Don't explore provincial nominee routes because you can wait for 2 years to be selected from a pool of over 20,000 professionals all over the world. So you just be selected from that pool. So it takes God. Yes, your spirituality applies. It takes God. It takes fighting your village people to actually get to be selected in this pool. And the requirements, the cutoff mark, the benchmarks for this application will not work for people who are not skilled, who are unskilled, or who are not so latered. Because if you don't have some sizable amount of some academic qualifications or degrees, those programs are not for you. So, and the essence of the Travel Complexity Masterclass I will be joining in a few days from now is to teach us the shortest route to come to Canada. Each free, less expensive. You don't even have to do so much. Even you learn to do it all by yourself. So you can actually handle it for yourself, for friends, for relatives. And if you're a traveling consultant, you can still get to and do it for your staff and your clients. So British Columbia has the BCPNP. We have so many for that. You can go back to our PDF material. You get to have all of those information. We have the MPNP. That is a Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program. We have the New Brunswick. Now, if you must use PNP, try New Brunswick. But the bad news is New Brunswick is not yet developed. So you might not hit or meet your life goals in New Brunswick. There are certain provinces in Canada that are still performing below economic benchmark. They are not so economic fruitful. And if you find yourself in such places, you might not make so much of headway in life. So you just have to start finding ways to start going to Ontario, where you get to see the Vancouver, where you get to see Toronto, where you get to see Manitoba. And sorry, Ontario, Manitoba, those provinces makes big sense. But if you actually want something that is less competitive, less people, not so many persons to pick from the pool, then take my advice, New Brunswick will work. The next also is the NLPNP, which is the Newfoundland and Labrador. Newfoundland and Labrador will work. These places are not yet fully developed, so there are always shortages of workers. The reason is because even Canadians who are from these provinces leave these provinces to places like British Columbia, places like Ontario, places like Manitoba. So even Canadians who are from those provinces leave those places. So imagine you in trying to jackpot, as the syndrome is for African continents at the time, you now go to places like those places. You find out that that's why the new trend is jackpot in jackpot. Now, what that means is you left Nigeria or you left any of the African nations, let's say Ghana, let's say Rwanda, you left any of those nations and you came to a particular Western world. And you're in those parts of those countries after you have relocated. Now you're still trying to relocate from where you are now to a new place. So that's not a good one. So that is why the need to actually make a proper findings is actually too good. Nova Scotia is there. You can still try Nova Scotia. But the big boy here is Ontario. If you actually want to try the PNP route, then try the Ontario Immigration Nominee Program, Immigrant Nominee Program. The reason is because Ontario is a full developed city. You can actually achieve your life goals. But cost of living here is expensive. So put down your plans. We have Prince Edward Island. We have Quebec. Name it. We have Saskatchewan. We just name it. Northwest Territories, and we have Yukon. Yukon. We have Yukon. So Prince Edward Island. So these are some of the provincial nominee programs. But those programs takes years. Sometimes they take about 18 to 24 months. And I'm sure you don't have all of the energy to start waiting for all of these things. So we'll still look at the shortest routes. These are just the different pathways with which we can adopt, with which you can explore, with which you can give up our hands up on to actually find your way to Canada. Now we have family sponsorship. This might not happen to all of us. Family sponsorship, so we have spousal sponsorship. Maybe you're married to a Canadian, then spousal sponsorship. So the person must be your civil partner, your spouse or civil partner, right? So maybe you're female, you're married to a Canadian, or you're married to a Nigerian in Canada who actually has the green card or who has the Canadian permanent residence. So this is still another route for you. So if you're married to a Canadian, you can just get a spousal sponsorship. So you get a spousal sponsorship visa and you join your spouse. Or maybe you're a child, your parents are in Canada, you get child sponsorship and you join your parents. Now we also have parent and grandparent sponsorship. Maybe you're in Canada or someone who is in Canada, his parents are in Nigeria, he wants his parent to come to Canada. That is why it was called parent and grandparents. So maybe grandpa or grandma who are in Ghana and grandchildren are in Canada. You can invite them as long as you have your permanent residence in Canada. So this is actually some of the route. Now the next route, which is always not discussed, is business and investor programs. Now some of you actually don't know that some ways you can actually come to Canada, but it's a little bit expensive. You can even get what is known as the startup visa program. All you need is 75,000 Canadian dollars, and if you get to put that in there, I know that runs into millions. And not everybody can afford that. That's more reason why most persons don't explore these routes. So we have the startup visa program where with a good funding, all you need is get your incorporation in Canada. And you can get an incorporation in Canada right from Nigeria. It's XYZ simple approach. We'll get to learn that in our complexity travel section that will be coming up in a few days, how you can actually get yourself incorporated in Canada or get your own company registered in Canada. And with that, you can still get yourself a Canada business visa and come down to Canada with just an incorporation. And you can also get a startup visa program. You can migrate from Nigeria and come to Canada to start up a business. That is a startup visa program. And we have self-employed persons program. I'm sure nobody has heard this route before. The self-employed visa program. Some of us have not heard this before, because if we have heard it, maybe we would have tried it. Now, what the self-employed visa program entails, it's kind of a freelance approach. Do you get that now? So I think I'll take the time to talk about this in a bit, maybe within the next possible 5 to 10 minutes. Let me just talk about this so that, because it's something we have not heard before. Now, what the self-employed person program is just an immigration pathway that is designed for persons who have relevant experiences and intend to be self-employed in Canada. Now, what's the difference between the startup investor visa and the self-employed persons program? In the case of the startup investor visa, what you need is you need to get a business registered in Canada and now migrate to Canada to start up. And do you know the startup visa, we gave you a green card on arrival. But the costing for this is 75,000 Canadian dollars the last time we made the application. So it's actually cost implicating, it's cost expensive, so we might not get to do that. But now let's talk about the self-employed persons program. Though you've not heard it. Now, what this pathway is simply designed for people with relevant experiences who intend to come to Canada to be self-employed on their own. Give me a hand skill. A fashion designer is self-employed. A barber is self-employed. Or you got some special skills that you feel with those skills you can actually find your way to Canada. Yeah, I know with this now, everybody got a skill, right? So even if I don't have a skill, I could go learn driving. I'll say, I got a driving skill, so I'm coming to Canada. But hold it, there are requirements. There are eligibility criteria, right? So you can't just, okay, because I got some special skill as a musician or as a dancer, I'm going to Canada now. They say, why are you coming? You say, self-employed person program, so I'm coming. No, there are eligibility criteria to this things. So we are going to talk about them. So if you go find out that you're eligible, then I think we'll get to give you this application for free. So let me talk about the criteria rather, apologies. So after talking about the criteria, and if you meet the criteria, just reach out to the convener. We are going to make a free application for you. Now, to qualify for the self-employed person program, you must have the following. You must have relevant experience. It's not try and error. You can't say, if you get to say you are a driver, a truck driver, you must be an experienced one. Though I do understand, we are all learners behind wheels. Nobody's an expert on wheels. But at least you should have driven for at least 2 years. You should have 2 years of experience in cultural activities or athletics as a self-employed person. Do we get to see that? Now, the term here is cultural activities or athletics. When we talk about athletics, we're talking about track and field events. Athletics, like track events, like marathon race, short put, the javelin throw, discus, mention it, high jump, long jump. If you have skills in any of these areas, you are still eligible. So you should have this with a combination of some relevant education in the field. So it's not that, okay, yeah, I am a member of an athletic group, or maybe I play table tennis, some sort of indoor games, or billiard pool billiard rather. So that does not actually just qualify. You still need some form of education. Secondly, you must have ability to demonstrate that you can set up and start up a business in Canada all by yourself. And the areas with which you are going to establish this business should be in area like social cultural activities or athletic activities. So if you can actually start up business ideas around social cultural or athletic, you got a good one. Now, the next approach to get that we'll still be looking at is, sorry, apologies, a moment, please. Okay, sorry to that now. I'm back. Okay, now, so we're still looking at some of the criteria. So you can actually just assume that, okay, since they said it's self-employed person program, I should go for it. Now, remember, you should have relevant skills in around culture and athletics. You should have some level of education. You should have ability to demonstrate that you can actually establish a business around cultural and athletic activities. Now, there's a selection criteria. The application is assessed based on point system. So it comes with points. So what are the points? The points are susceptible to your experience, the quality of experience you have in athletic or cultural field, your education, your age, and your language proficiency. Language proficiency, your ability to speak English or French, although that is not a strict requirement. If you are coming from a francophone country, you're eligible. If you are coming from an anglophone country, you're also eligible. You only don't become eligible if you are not coming from countries that speak French or that speak English, or you never acquired any form of education in French or English. Those are some of the stuffs. And you must have ability to adapt to the Canadian work environment. So we'll get to talk about that in our travel complexity masterclass. And I believe in that area now, some of us will learn how to go about this application. But if you are here, you actually fall in that criteria, you actually fall in that pedestal, and you have any of those things, reach out to the convener. We are going to get something started with you, all at no cost. Now, outside the family sponsorship, there are still other routes. I'm sure some of us, There are still other routes that they didn't make mention of. Now, I've talked about business and investor program. I've talked about family sponsorship. I've talked about provincial nominee program. And I also went further to talk about the express entry system. Now, let's get to talk about stuff like the study pathway. Now, some of us can actually attest to the fact that most persons who came to Canada or in Canada currently came in as students, and after that, they were able to get their work permit. But today, now coming to Canada is quite expensive. Even studying in any part of the world outside Nigeria is way expensive. And we do know as a people that study is not the reason why we are coming. We actually want to use it as a pathway to actually migrate to Canada. So it comes with so much cost. And at this time today, where there's provincial attestation later, especially for those who are coming for undergraduate program and programs that are not postgraduate at the master's level. Maybe if you're doing a postgraduate diploma, you're doing a baccalaureate, you actually need the provincial attestation later. And over time, we got to believe that since it was actually ensued sometime in February 24th, it has been a major concern, or it has actually imposed so much issue to most persons. But thanks to God now, some provinces actually can give out provincial attestation later. Although provinces or varsities who can do that are DLI licensed varsities, and provinces that are and varsities that are actually owned by the province. So some self-public school universities are the ones who do that. With most private schools or private DLI varsities not able to give that PAL until next year March. So that still makes the process so herculean. But the good news in between is you can actually do a short course program. Yeah, I think that has been discussed, and that will still be taught in our travel complexity masterclass. You can do a short course program, and the tuition for those programs are affordable, they're minimal, and with this you can use it to get an exchange program and get your work permit, get your green card even. It's by far one of the untapped routes, so I won't talk much about it, so that those who will not be joining the complexity masterclass will not steal our information. But let me just give an overview. The tuition fee for short course program are between 3,000 to 10,000. So you can just come to Canada and do a short course program for 3,000 Canadian dollars, and the tuitions are paid instrumentally, right? So you can actually pay 4 times, yeah, 4 installments. That makes big sense. And you don't need provincial attestation later. That makes more bigger sense. And what makes it more brighter, you don't need a study permit. So you don't have to start waiting for your study permit. Once you get admission, offer later, you get a letter of acceptance, you can just start to pay part of the tuition, just 25% of your tuition, Eureka, on your way to Canada. Then we'll get to meet someday. So that is just how it works. So, but I will not place emphasis on that. I know a few persons who have actually migrated using that, but when you get to join a travel complexity masterclass, all of those informations will be given in full details and several freebies, just like I explained. Today, the only freebie I'll be giving is a free PDF material. So I'll talk to the convener to share that with everybody. Now, the next route to look is a work route, right? So we have temporary foreign worker program. We have international mobility program, and today there are just many routes which you can come to Canada. Let's talk about those them in a brief. I'll try as much as I can to say everything in 2 minutes. Now we have the LMIA, the Labor Market Impact Assessment. Some of us who have tried that know it's not a good route. The reason is because the LMIA takes time. Like you just have to wait for LMIA number, you have to wait for LMI later, you have to wait for an LMI approved job. If you get all of that now, trust me, you gotta be waiting for 4 to 5 months, unless if an immigration lawyer is handling it for you, right? So LMI today, not too good route. It's still a good route for the work because LMI jobs, you can even apply for them yourself. And do you know the good news? You don't even need you don't need anyone to get these things done. You can go to the government website and apply for there are more than 60,000 LMIA jobs. You don't need anybody assistance, but I think you might need a few assistants, and that will be coming in during the travel complexity masterclass. So with that, now you have ample and full knowledge of what applies. So beyond that, we still have other work permit routes which you can explore. Eureka, we have the GHP program. Yeah, the GHP program is actually new. So let me just get to give us a piecemeal. Let me just get to give us a piecemeal of what this GHP program is all about, because it's something that started recently. It's less than 6 months. Okay, now the GHP program has the fastest work permit approval. You can't imagine that. The work permit approval for GHP program is just 2 weeks. So if you get a GHP founder job, there are 13 companies on this. I think I'll be sending a PDF on this, but that will be gotten by people who will be participating in the travel complexity masterclass. So now there are 13 companies on it. So if you get employment in any of those companies, you'll be getting 2 years work permit, and you get your work permit in 2 weeks. So in less than 8 weeks on your way to Canada. So less stressful and the pay way. And the good news is unskilled people can apply. Are you a chef? Are you a baker? Can you work as a front desk officer? If you are skilled, good job. You can still stand a better chance. The essence of all of these things is to annihilate or total removal of the LMI. So the government just is rolling out new programs or new pathways under the work permit, so that when that is fully achieved, they can find how well or how best they can close the LMI program and make those programs the new order. And lastly is the big break win that comes with green. Some of us must have heard about this route, and some of us will be hearing about it, is the Live-in Caregiver program, the caregiver program. What does that imply? Or what it entails is, if you get a caregiving job, a live-in caregiving job in Canada, Eureka, you're getting your work permit and you're getting a permanent residence on arrival. It's not after 2 years, it's not after 6 months. The moment you arrive Toronto, depending on whichever part of the airport you are exploring, the moment you arrive Toronto, green card awaits you. And everybody who is related by you, like your civil partner, your wife or your husband, your children, all of them come under that cover. That's so amazing and applausive. So that is one of the biggest, fastest routes. And there are two ways to get a live-in caregiver job. We have the tedious way and we have the easiest way. The easiest way actually comes with no stress and is the most fast accessible route. So because there are requirements for these things, but time of may not talk about the requirement. Join the Complexity Travel Masterclass, all of that will be discussed in essence, where you get to have all of the full information. Now, the last route is the open work permit. It's not a route per se, it's just a benefit that comes with being a dependent to someone who is a skilled worker or international student in Canada. Do you see that now? So if your wife gets a job in Canada, you can work as a husband or a civil partner under what is known as the open work permit. And what does open work permit mean? Open work permit means you can work anywhere, right? So let's say your wife got a job as, let's say she got a job as a receptionist in an organization, then you flew in together with your wife. You can work your wife can only work where she's employed, but you can work anywhere. But don't get to think because you can work anywhere, you still work everywhere, right? Because there are still Canadians who don't have jobs, so it's not something that comes with some sort of platter sprinkled stuffs. So you have to still look for a job, and in most cases you can still reach out to an immigration lawyer. Or the best cases here is join the travel masterclass. You'll learn all of those things. Easy peasy. Now we have refugee and asylum seeker pathways. Before we delve into the desktop, and before I get to share my screen and show all of those things. Now we have refugee and asylum seeker pathways. Yeah, those pathway works sometimes 2019 onward, 2019, 2018, before COVID. Most persons who came into Canada using tourist visa or either tourist visa or conference visa or business visa, majority of them never returned. So what they did at the time was just they used the route called refugee claimants. They just claim that they're refugee. So they seek asylum, and in doing that now, they will now give them green card. Do you see that now? So somebody who is in Nigeria will be wishing, I wish I've applied several years ago, right? Possibly the process was not this tedious. The process was not this tough. Remember, it's not tough either. Meets requirements, you get visa. So refugee claimants works, but this case now you have to be in Canada to claim to be a refugee. If you are a citizen of a country that is undergoing the following: a natural disaster or some sort of man-made disasters like war, you can easily make application to this. Let's assume some parts of maybe Gaza, you are from places like Gaza, where currently there's some outbreak of war and all. You can actually just apply for this, and trust me, you can get it. But if you are coming from a country that's like Nigeria, I believe there is no war in Nigeria, and I don't pray there should be war. Nigeria is stable, everything is peaceful, so you can actually start claiming refugee claimants at the time. But for you to do that, if at all you must do that, you first have to be in Canada before you start seeking for asylum. And another purpose also, for those who are in war zones or places with natural disasters like maybe earthquake, earth tremor, volcano eruption, landslide, mention it, tornado, hurricane, name it. They can actually apply for this, so they can seek asylum. They can seek for refugee and humanitarian settlement program, and they will now resettle them there. That's a good one. Now, beyond that, also there's Quebec immigration program. We have Atlantic immigration program. We have rural and northern immigration pilot program. Those process, the rural and northern immigration pilot program will be discussed intensively in our next forthcoming travel complexity master class, because it's one of the hot cake, but most people don't know. Work permit is easy peasy, less stressful, comes with no stress, and cost saving. The last we'll be looking is the agri-food pilot program. For some of us, are you into agriculture in Nigeria? Are you into fishery farming? Are you into poultry? Are you into apiculture, snake farming, honey? Are you into anything? Rabbits production, name it. Those parts where you can still apply for them. You just need the following. You need to prove that you have a farm. You need to register CAC to show that you run a farm and you have some explicit, exquisite agricultural skill. Then you can actually explore the agri-food pilot program, and with that now, you can actually get to come to Canada. Now, some parts we never discussed, which I'm going to talk about that. A bit all of these things are more like permanent programs, residential programs. So let's talk about a few like tourist visa. For some of us, that is the best we can do at the time. You just think it for a tourist visa in Canada. So how do you go about that? All you need is to head over to the Canadian government website. So now let's just go to the Canadian government website. Let me just get to explain a few stuff, and maybe we'll just do a little demo, and that will lead us to question and answer section. So all of this will happen in just 10 minutes. Now, for all applications you want to do concerning Canada, don't panic. Just go to canada.ca, the government official website of Canada. Click. Let me share my screen so that everybody gets to see my screen. I'm supposed to share my screen. Okay, I'm still trying to find the share screen tab. Yeah, sorry, and can admin actually enable me to share my screen, please? Admin, are you there? Can you enable me to share my screen, please?
Done, sir.
Okay, let me get to try again. I don't know. I can't share my screen. Admin, I still can't share my screen. Okay, great. Now I think I can share my screen. So let me get to share my screen. Now I said for every time you want to make any application as touching Canada, all you need do is can you guys see my screen? Sorry, is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible. You can just type yes if you can see his screen.
Okay, great.
If you
Now,
can see
so
his
where am I
screen, just
now?
type yes.
This is the Canada official website, canada.ca, and I understand English. I don't understand
No,
French.
I'm
So,
not seeing responses. Can we see his screen? Just type yes.
okay, yeah, I think a few persons can see my screen. That's great.
All right, all right.
Okay, great. Now, so where we are is the official Government of Canada website, right? So everything you need, all of this application, pilot immigration programs we actually discussed, everything is embedded here. So I'll just give us a piecemeal. For instance, you need a caregiving job or an LMIA job. You don't have to do anything so special. You don't have to start working with some recruiting firms or start checking Canada.indeed, Indeed.Canada, Indeed.ca rather, or start checking some job sites. Just come straight to the Canada website. And if you need information about anything, everything is embedded here. So first, let's say I need a job. All I need is to find a job. Just click find a job. Right? Remember earlier we talked about federal skilled programs. Can you see these are federal skilled Government of Canada jobs? Do you see that? Job bank is where you search for jobs posted by employers across Canada. Let's say I'm looking for a job now. I don't want to go for the federal skill job or federal trade jobs or federal express entry jobs. All I need to do is I'll just come to job bank and I want to join Canadian. Okay, let's say I need a government job, for instance. Can you see search for government jobs? You can search, you could get, if you actually meet the job criteria rather, can you see federal skilled workers program eligibility, find jobs in the Canadian Armed Forces. Do you want to join the Canada Armed Forces? You can click here and they are even recruiting. So if you feel you're eligible, you want to join the Canada Armed Forces, click there, get all their requirements. A bit to that will actually be discussed in the travel complexity masterclass. You need jobs outside the armed.
Remember. What is?
Yeah. Okay. Can I proceed?
Yes, sir. Please go on.
Okay, now you need jobs. Maybe you don't want armed forces, you don't want to be a Canada military personnel. There are several security intelligence agencies you can join. You have that here. Every information you ever need, you have them here. All you need is don't do anything so special. Just come here and find the information. But if you need a job outside these sectors, just come to Job Bank. Click on that. There are thousands of jobs you can apply for. Can you see? Thousands of jobs. Find a job. Beyond, at the top here, you can see Government of Canada. Job search, just find a job. And you can even find a job in a particular province. Let's say for you, you actually like maybe Newfoundland and Labrador. Maybe you just want Quebec, British Columbia. Mention it. Find a job. What skill do you have? Okay, truck driver, for instance. Just type truck. Sorry, I think I had to go spell truck driver. What province? If you want all the province, there's no point checking this. So just search truck and there'll be truck driver displayed from all the several locations. All the several locations. Okay. Let me just get to put truck or driver will be fine just to save time because we are supposed to spend just a few minutes here. I think the page is loading. So now we are just searching for truck driver jobs in all the locations, in all the provinces and territories in Canada. So can you see? Now, if you can't see, in all the provinces in Canada, there are 9,287 truck driver jobs. Okay, I got a driving skill. And to get this now, let me say for some of us who actually want to come for truck driving, you need an international driver license. And I can remember a few times prior to this section, I actually said you can actually get that from any Federal Road Safety Commission body situated in your locality or in your state where you are at the time. I'm only saying this for Nigerians. For Nigerians who are actually participating, if you are coming from other nations, just locate Federal Road Safety Commission. And I think the fee for this truck driving job is less 30,000 Nigerian naira. It's not up to 30,000 Nigerian naira, and you get it in just 3 days. So you need an international driver license if at all you're coming for driving. And in all the provinces in Canada, there are 9,287 jobs you can apply for. And as well as the hourly rates are displayed, 15 Canadian dollars per hour to 18. So there are many. And this one was just uploaded yesterday. So you can give it a shot. And it's in Edmonton, Ontario, Oakville, Ontario. There are many. There are 9,000 jobs at your disposal. You can try them. And every employer you get to see here, or everybody who gets to advertise here, has been approved by the government. Has been approved by the government. So there's nothing to fear. You won't be scammed. Nobody's going to swindle you or scam you. Right? Because everybody who is here, the government knows them. So if you get a job from any of those employers, rest assured that you're in good hands and you're in safe hands. So there's apparently nothing to fear. So that's that. We'll just get to leave this part and move on to that is just for the job. Come here, caregiving, search for anything. Okay, forklifts for some persons who want to do that. Just search. There are 1,001 you can try. So you can make applications. But the sad news is, let me say something. Forklifts, there are just 114 jobs. You can't actually apply for these jobs using the Nigerian or the Ghanaian, depending on whatever region you're coming from, resume standard. Canada has a resume standard. So I think during the Canada and the travel complexity masterclass, we are going to give us 5 samples of the Canada resume standard. So that when you are making your resume, you actually make your resume in line with that standard. Because if you don't get to have the standard required resume and cover letter, you will not be attended to. The employer will not even get to check you out. So during the travel complexity masterclass, we'll give out 5 samples, and we are going to write for first 10 people to join the class. I don't know how the convener is going to do that, just to keep a tag on the first 10 people to join during the next travel complexity masterclass section. So the first 10 people, we are going to make a standard Canadian resume for them. And we are going to write cover letters for them so that you actually have that. So that when you are going on your job search, you can actually have that. And during the masterclass, we are still going to learn how to apply for these jobs, how to do the follow-ups, how to take interviews, because some of those jobs comes with interviews. So the employer will have to get on board with you on a live cam. So how do I go past that? How do I bypass that? So all of that will actually be discussed. So you are going to have a head start on that. So I'll just get to talk about the last route. If you're going to visit Canada, can you visit Canada? Very simple. I think one of the things for those who are joining will learn is you will learn how to create your IRCC account so that with that you can apply for either a visiting visa, and you'll learn how to get all the necessary documents for that purpose. For some of us who might not have proof of funds, how to use a sponsored bank account. Yeah, proof of funds, how to get a sponsored bank account to cover for all of your travel expenses, recognized from a reputable company in Nigeria or from your home country, so that with that you can stand a high chance. So we'll learn how to create an IRCC account, either for study, either for work, either for visit, or even for business. all of that will actually be discussed. So just like I stated earlier, today's section is just a piecemeal. What we're having is just a prelude of the total glance of what we'll be doing during the Travel Master Complexity class. So all you need to do is brace up and make yourself available for the Travel Complexity Masterclass, because all of those things will be taught bit for bit, and extensive practicals will be given. And just like I stated, we are going to make the first 10 persons to join the masterclass. When the meeting is commencing, we'll be giving a free Canadian resume as well as cover letters. So I think at those points now, because we have to just adhere to 2 hours time frame, and I do know in the next 90 minutes should be 2 hours and questions will come in. So let me just avail us now to leave the floor for the convener to actually give us space or room to answer, to ask our questions. Then at the end, I will now ask one question so that we can have a lucky winner for today's section. Thank you. So over to the convener. You can actually cheer them up to ask questions so that we can provide answers. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Mr. Wells. It was a great wealth of knowledge. We are grateful. I know a lot of us are having questions already. And for those that will start using this information that they've gotten this evening, I wish you all the best. Yes, for those that have questions, so we have seen a lot of hands. Some people raised their hands up even before the class started. So I don't know whether they came with their questions or the questions were generated from here. All right. So let's start from the first person we have here. We'll start from the first person. Yeah, Mr. Wells, do you think they should ask all their questions, then you attend to it at the same time?
Okay, we actually have less than 30 minutes for this section to come to an end. So maybe the best approach is, let's just pick 2 persons to ask their questions so that we can exhaust the time we have. Then other persons can send their questions to you. Then answers will be provided to them.
Okay. Okay, let's see how it goes then. All right. So are you picking?
Okay, the first 2 persons to raise their hand. I think I have Farinto Olufemi and I have Chukwuemeka Buzome. Yeah, so Farinto Olufemi, if you can hear me, can you just ask your question? Okay, Farinto, are you there? If you're not there, maybe we'll move to 2 and 3. Okay, let's assume Farinto Olufemi is not there. So, Mr. Chukwuemeka, if you can hear me, can you ask your question, please? Okay, maybe Chukwuemeka is not there. Chukwuemeka, can you hear me?
Let me unmute him. I don't know if he's around.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Chukwuemeka, you have the floor.
Hello.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay.
Go ahead and ask your question.
I didn't get much of the attention of the class. I was on traffic, so I don't know what I want to find out from the travel complexity class. When is going to is it by the month end or so? It's going to take place also. I want to be get clarity about the class.
Okay, your travel complexity class is starting on the 31st and runs through 2nd of August. Just 3 days.
3 days, okay. All right. So that's what clarification on that.
Okay. Okay, thanks so much to that. Now, the 3rd person here, who is the last person on the question list, is Mr. Egbon Joshua. So, Mr. Joshua, if you're there, maybe you can actually ask your question.
Okay, I will mute you.
Hello?
You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Yes, yes.
Yeah, Fanito is on the line, please. Can you hear me? Fanito, hello?
Okay,
Okay, I
great.
think
Yeah,
we'll
we
let her
can hear
have
you.
her class. Okay.
Yeah, let her have her
Fanito,
time. It's fine.
Fanito,
Yeah, great,
hello?
Mrs. Farrington. Yeah,
We can
Mrs.
hear you.
Farrington,
Go
that's
ahead.
great.
Yes, thank you very much. I really appreciate the class, sir. So I just want to give us maybe the next class. So I have interest on caregiver. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you, Ma. Right on, please.
Yes. Yes, I say I appreciate the class. Thank you very much. My question is that when are we having the class for the complex one?
Okay, the complex class is starting on the 31st and runs through 2nd of August.
All right, okay.
With just a fee of 15,000 naira.
No problem.
Admitted into the class.
Thank you.
Okay,
You're
thanks.
welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much to that.
Yeah,
So,
Mr. Wells, I see a question here on the chat.
Okay, please.
Yeah, somebody is asking, what if I don't have IELT? Am I eligible to apply for any of these visas?
Okay, great. Now, the answer to that question is if you did not get to learn in English or you were not schooled in French, you need an IELTS. But if you actually have any form of training with certificate to show in English or French, you don't need an IELTS for some of these applications. I think I'll be putting a clause to that. That will form the basis of our discussion during the next Travel Complexity Masterclass. IELTS is not needed for all applications. Only if you're not from Anglophone countries and you're not from a Francophone country. That is only when you'll be needing IELTS for some of these applications. But there are still some applications there that require IELTS. So all of that will be discussed intensively during those three-day section we'll be having on the Travel Complexity Masterclass. Thanks.
Okay, so somebody said, where do medical doctors fall into? You can just drop your questions while we are picking them. Just drop them on the chat. I'll be picking few of them, and anyone that we need to move on, then we will.
Okay, now great. Now, as a medical health practitioner, you are even eligible for virtually all the availability roles and functions, especially when it comes to the work routes. You can see coming as a caregiver. You can see coming under LMIA. You can see coming under the GHP program, which are by far one of the fastest at the time. So once you are certified, and let's say to a place of equivalence, your certificate can actually be placed side by side to that of a Canadian medical practitioner or expert, then you stand a better chance. You can get a job in the medical industry, a hospital, a caregiving home. Just mention it. Everywhere and anywhere medical skills are appreciated or needed, you can get a job in Canada as a medical health practitioner.
Well, that's a good one. Okay, what will it cost to be part of the travel complexity class? Okay, just a fee of 15,000 naira, then you will get admitted into the class. Somebody said, will the class still be a webinar? Yes, we will have a WhatsApp class for one day, and then we'll just send some information on WhatsApp, and then we will drop the recordings of the past class, and then we will now go into 2 days a call like this. So that is what we are going to be doing, because it has to do with a lot of practical, just as we have said, it's going to put through a lot of practicals and show you a lot of stuff. Okay, somebody said, please can I apply for MPNP through Manitoba to Brando without express entry? I didn't get that. Entry what? Though I have an EOI profile with 616 points over 1,000. So did you get that? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't think I got the question. And I saw a very
Yeah.
peculiar question here.
Yes.
Okay, but
Please,
before I answer that question,
who?
someone
Okay.
said, hello, Mr. Wade, I actually applied for a Canadian visa and it's almost a year now. Without any response from the embassy, who do I do? Okay, what do I do next? Now, the simple truth is, if you actually applied, what is your UCI number? I can even help check that for you now. If you have your UCI number. The second is, when you made the application, I'm sure you have your IRCC account. Just log into your IRCC account. The decision must have been done long before now. We have a few persons who said in the application, nothing has been done. Whereas Canada has actually responded 7 to even 14 business days after they went for biometrics. Now, the reason why you got no mail is maybe you use a third-party agent who uses his or her own email. So the person did not get to tell you. So you can't even gain access to your IRCC portal, or you don't even know your UCI number. But if you know your UCI number, even if you can't gain access to IRCC portal at the time, I can still just give you a quick run check to check the state of your application. So that is just one thing to note. Canada will not keep mute for 1 year. Most cases, it could be the route you adopted. Maybe you actually explore the express entry or the provisional nominee program. That could be the reason why you have not been selected for the pool. But if it's if it's a business or conference, the decision should have been done long before now. So with the help of your UCI number, I can help you check. Or if you can still remember your RCC accounts portal, just log into that. Now, one of the advantages of the Travel Complexity Masterclass is you will know how to make the application yourself, and we'll give you expert hand support on getting it right. That is just what makes the Travel Complexity Masterclass a big win for the participants. I could remember prior to this time, a few other persons who tried sometimes back, everybody learned how to create RCC accounts so they can actually log in and sign up for any application they want, be it provincial nominee programs, express entries, the work route, GHP, LMIA, caregiving, rural North immigration program, mention it, study, visit, work, name it. You can actually do all of that all by yourself, and you can even apply for jobs. You don't have to come to Canada to get a job. You apply for a job while in Canada. But in the case where you want to come to Canada for a job, just get a short course program to do that, or come in at short course is the best. Come with a short course program, get an exchange program, get a job, and just find your place in Canada easy peasy and cheaply. But all of that will be discussed furthermore in total when we get to trial because the Travel Complexity Masterclass is a 2-day straight section where all questions will be attended to, all routes will be fully discussed, and practical applications will be done. And just like I stated, one person will be selected for a free application during the Travel Complexity Masterclass. So that will be a big one for everyone. So I don't know, sorry now, the convener can just look through the questions and ask a few other questions. I think by my timing, I have 7 minutes to leave this section. So
yes,
the convener can just look in and ask.
Okay. I don't think there's any complex question here. This is somebody asking, must I be in Canada to apply? No, that is why you have the website. You can start your application. Okay. I think for now, except sir, you want to ask your last question. Let's see whether somebody will win $50.
Okay, now to the last question. I know this one is going to come as a rush, but my candid advice is I want to give just one person, and who knows, maybe the next section that we'll be having, you stand a chance to win the free lottery. Let's just call it a free application spot to have the totality of the application process done off for you at no cost. So now my question is, okay, now I'm just trying to reframe my question. Okay, now there's this case study we have. The answer is just straight to the point. It's a sentence. There's this case study we have. If you feel you have the answer, forget about the amount that is involved. But Okay, now
Hello?
I once had a case. It's an immigration case, right? At the time of application, the woman was not married. She was a spinster. Now, the application time took 3 months. So within that 3 months, she did her wedding. She did legal, like some kind of registry conduct, and everything was legalized. But as at the time the visa was issued, now the visa is not yet issued and she's married. The visa has not been issued and she's married. And she has actually printed and submitted and made payment for all of the application online. So who can actually give us the best advice for these clients? Okay, let me take the question again. Client XYZ applied as a spinster, but during the time she was waiting for application decision, the marriage between that time, and now she has submitted all of her application. She has downloaded everything. She has even done her biometric. And at this time, the visa has been approved, but it was approved for a job. Yeah, it was actually approved for a job, but this time she's married. She's no longer a spinster. So her marital status now is now married, no longer single. But by application, it was single. And now the visa, she has been approved just to take her visa for stamps and all. Who can actually tell me the best advice?
Update application and
Okay, please, may I know your name when you're talking?
Father Reolumuyiwa Akonde.
Okay, Father Ray. Okay, let's hear Mr. Father Ray now.
Yes. What the person should do is to update employers if it's a work permit, update our employers and file for open work permit for the spouse.
Okay, now that's okay. Inform the employer, but let me just reiterate the question so that we'll not have to go over it again. She got a work visa as a spinster, but now that she's set to go to Canada, she's now married, and she doesn't want to leave her spouse behind because she's crazily in love with her spouse. So she's ready to fulfill Canada visa for her marriage. But this time now, she doesn't want to leave her marriage and she doesn't want to leave Canada. She has a visa as a spinster, but now married. What should she do so that she can go with her husband?
Yeah, can you
so
she should go
alongside with her husband?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Can you listen to Are you listening to me?
Yeah, okay. I'm hearing several persons. I just need your name so that I can actually address you by your name.
Just put up your hand. Just put up your hand. I've mute everyone. The noise is much.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll just speak from the chat section. I got someone said something so important. And it's so funny. Someone was advising that she should just go and leave her husband. That was against my question. The question is, she just married and she's crazy in love with her husband. For the love she has for her husband, she can forget about Canada and move to Togo. Yeah, because she really loves her husband. She doesn't mind going to Togo than going to Canada. Now, the visa has been approved. She just needs to take her passport for the stamp. She got a 2 years work permit to work with a reputable firm in Canada. But in between that 3 months wait, she got married, so she's legally married. And she loves her husband so dearly that nothing can come between them, not even a Canada visa. So what should she do? So someone said she should leave her husband, let the husband apply again. That's not the rule. The rule is she and her husband, is either she marries her husband and forgets Canada visa, or she and her husband go to Canada. She can't leave her marriage for Canada. Is either Canada will be forgone while she keeps her marriage, or she and her husband goes to Canada. And now that she wants to go to Canada, the passport, the visa shows that she's single. So in that case now, the husband can't even, the husband is not recognized as a civil or legal partner, so he can't even get an open work permit. And there's no other way even on board him.
Okay,
So
I think
let me
somebody
just
wrote
see.
something here. Mary,
Okay.
is it Mary Precious Ugu? She should go for affidavits. It will be a backup for her. That's what she said. Is that accepted?
Okay, now let me put a clause. The clause is the only validity for the husband following her is a visa. So the husband can't even apply for open work permit to join the wife if there are no applications to show. So if she does an affidavit, who is she going to show that to? By her records, by her biometric record, she's single. Do you get that now? By the biometric record, she's single. So now it's just like, okay, because I'm single, for instance, though I'm married, I'm happily married. Let's say XYZ is single. And because XYZ is single, then XY now got work permit, now brings a random person and say, this is my husband. If you are the immigration officers, will you allow him to follow XYZ? Because in that case, anybody can just bring anybody and say, this is my husband, and the two of them on board and start coming to Canada. So a court affidavit, newspaper publication is totally out of it. It won't work here. It's actually a special case, but the good news is the lady, XYZ lady and husband are in Canada, right? They didn't forfeit Canada. Both parties came to Canada, and I just want to believe they are still happily married. So that will not work.
Okay. Oh, so somebody says spouse sponsorship.
They are still in Nigeria. The woman can leave her husband for 1 hour. Whatever we separate them for 1 hour, they're ready to forgo. Even if it involves going to Yaoundé in Cameroon. They don't mind. As long as the husband will be with her, she's ready.
Okay, somebody said restart the application process.
You can't apply more than once. She has work visa already. Why should she restart? If it's you, will you agree to restart? You fulfill that.
Another person said consult a lawyer.
Okay, what would the lawyer
immigration lawyer?
The immigration lawyer should sue Canada to court. And okay, I don't understand.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's all that I'm seeing. Okay. So, sir, maybe we'll leave you to give the response.
Okay, now, the answer is, okay, if I give the answer, there's no $50 to be won. Will that be fair enough for me to do? I'm sure the house will say no. Because if I give the answer now, I'll be keeping my funds, and I don't want to do that. I actually want to give someone $50 now. Okay, someone say, no, dance. Okay, I won't.
Okay. So.
Okay, everybody said I should
said
not.
No. All right, give answer. Okay, the husband should apply for a visa.
Okay, the husband should
apply the embassy.
Okay, to apply for visa as what? Visiting visa or study visa. Which visa will he now apply? Because whatever visa is applying now, they are not married. The law did not know them to be married. Canada don't know them to be married. By Canada document, the woman is a spinster. So any application he's making now, what claim would they use to back that up? They can't get, someone said they get married in Canada. How will they get married in Canada? First, how will he
when
take
already
the man?
Married.
Will he put the man in a luggage? Is he going to put the man as an extra luggage? How will he pass immigration? First, the man cannot even go in as extra luggage because he needs a pass. He doesn't even have a visa. And nobody will give him visa by just stating that is my wife, she has visa, give me visa. That will not be allowed.
Okay. Someone said we should open the group so that they will all give response. But
now, I'm
before I
actually
open
looking
the
at the
group,
response. The truth is, if I get to see the right answer, I will just read it out, and that person is the winner. Because if we should open the mic, we have
It
130
will be
persons
very
in these
noisy.
sections. So
In
with
fact,
130 people talking, we'll all be creating some imbalance
somebody
to
has
sound.
given up. Or say, please give the answer. Somebody
Should I
should apply
say
for
the
visiting
answer now?
Canada. Oh,
Okay, if he applies for visiting Canada, he's applying for himself. And the man might be denied visa. How about if he is not given visa? Will the woman not go? The woman have to resume at every course.
somebody say should communicating with the Canadian immigration my work.
Okay, communicating them to do what? Okay, I'm now married, though. Let me say it like I don't marry, oh, my husband go follow me. All of that won't work. Nobody's ready to hear those synapses from you.
Asleep.
Okay, I think somebody
Okay.
gave an answer. I don't know if I
Oh,
could say safe.
congratulations. Who is
No,
that?
I just want to discuss. The person has not won it. I want to discuss the answer with the group. I want to see if the person that gave this answer to will do it. She should just fulfill the visa and marry her husband in Nigeria. Does will that be a good response? If you were to be in the woman's shoes, look at your almighty Canada dream, your husband,
An
then you
almighty
fulfilled Canada
husband.
visa, and all precious loving husband. Okay, someone said she should leave Canada and be marrying her husband.
They said she should apply for newspaper change of name.
And that will not be honored. And now, all of that is fair enough, but on the database of Canada where informations are entered, it is actually stated she is single. So if she does newspaper application and all, who will she take it for? And still don't forget, Canada don't have embassy in Nigeria. You will just use a third-party travel agencies like VFS Center. So will you now go to VFS Center and show the newspaper and say, and in Hausa they say, Mijina. You know, say, Wana Mijina ne. Okay, now because you say he's your husband, they should not stamp visa for him. As what? Who are you? Yeah, I know. All of that.
Okay, so somebody said the woman goes first and file for her husband later.
The woman can't even leave her husband for 1 hour. So anything that separates them for 1 hour.
The question is becoming complicated.
Yeah, the answer to this question is very simple. This question is just logic, it's common sense. That's why I just needed to look for an intriguing question to ask, something that is not so difficult, something that is not knowledge. You don't need any special form of knowledge, just for you to reason it out.
Somebody said they can both go for court marriage.
Okay, let me give you an idea. The man and his wife did white wedding. They did court register and they did registry. They even did traditional. So they have a certificate from the church. They have that from the courts and the registry. Sorry, the marriage registry, not the court. Even the parent consent, they have that with several pictures to show. So that's still not the case. I think my time is up and I've eaten deep into my time. So I think I'll be bringing it to a close now. But in doing that, I will give you an incomplete answer. Then the real answer will be updated during our travel complexity masterclass. This is the answer. She should just log into our IRCC portal. When she signs into our IRCC portal, she should use the console option. That's just the answer. Now, the question is, what is the console option? Then we meet at the Travel Complexity Masterclass so that you see how all of those things work, how to update your application all by yourself without getting to involve an immigration lawyer. Fine, I'm an immigration lawyer, so if you involve me, I'll make money out of you, but I don't want to do that. That is why you are joining the Complexity Masterclass, so that you can learn the know-how, learn how all of those things apply. So what document do I need? How to do all of those things seamlessly, all by yourself. Now, someone say, what is the consumption? My apologies to that question. It won't be answered, but join the Travel Complexity Masterclass. You'll learn the consumption on how to use it to update applications without even involving an immigration lawyer, writing to anyone in cases where you want to update your information. The database, you have access to the database. You can see edit your information. You can see update your information. You can change your information. You can correct even your information. But all of these things are not so glaring. Option comes in. So how do we do that? Not the consular option, console. So how do you go about updating information either for yourself or for your client after application and submission has been done? So that is just what she needs to do. She just use the console option, update all the information, submit the new document she has as touching her marriage. Her husband will just apply for open work permit, which costs just 100 Canadian dollars, which is less 150,000 naira, and he'll be approved, join his lovely wife, Eureka, on their way to Canada. So the console option, how to update information after submission, will be discussed. But how do we go about that? You need to know how to sign up on the RCC portal and have mastery, how to generate your own GC key, how to apply for multiple persons using the same account. All of that will be discussed. And the big win, which is so rich to the explanation, will be the console option. So thanks once again, ladies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen in the house. Thanks to all of your time. Thanks for making it out there. Okay.
Sorry, sir, just a minute. Somebody is asking that when you have been denied visa like 4 times, are you still eligible to apply? Can you still get? Can you reapply?
Okay, now this is the good news. But first, being denied 4 times does not make sense. This act of foolishness. I'm sorry to use that word. It's just like you writing an exam 4 times. It simply means you are repeating the same mistake. You repeated the same mistake 4 times. So why would you want to repeat the same mistake you can avert the second time? First time is a mistake, though second time is not considered to be a mistake. The reason is because for every denier, Canadian government actually stated the reasons why you were denied. All of that were glaring. They told you, okay, why we didn't give you visa? 1, blah, blah, blah was missing. 2, you did not meet this and that. 3, you lack this and that. As long as you don't have a visa ban, you can apply 1 million times. But why apply more than 1 time when you can get it right? Remember, there are no village people to these things. The intervening officer does not hate you. He doesn't even know you. So there's no way he can hate you. Even if he hates you by proxy, he's also a staff. He can be fired if he does not adhere to the rules for approval, right? So being denied 4 times doesn't make big sense to me. What I feel is you possibly did not get to pay attention to the reasons for the denial. So this is what you need to do. I think I'll ask the convener to just give you those privileges. Share all your previous denials with me. Then we spell out all the reasons why you have been denied so that you get it right for the last time. Thanks. So I don't know if there's any other question the organizer.
I hope the person that asked the question heard this, so you can reach out to us. Yes, there's a question. That is it compulsory for students seeking to study permit to open GIC account, be given visa approval?
Yeah, if you are trying to sign up for student permit, sure, you need a GC account, RCC account, or if you have your GCK, you can use it. Now, the one question that will be treated is, I've applied before. Now, let me just say one of the problems Africans usually used to have. The problems we have most times is you use traveling agencies who don't even know what they are doing, and some who even know what they are doing, they hoard information from you. Don't be surprised. Somebody in the section said he applied for the last 1 year. He has not heard anything. It was so interesting to know that if we get the UCI key, the person must have been attended to maybe 10 months ago. The decision has been decided maybe 11 months ago. But because he or she does not have access to the portal, does not even know what was submitted, your undoing is most times this traveling agent or the body you are using for your application do not even allow you to gain access to the document they submitted. So sometimes they use fortified records, records that actually breach or document that breach the standard for requirement. And that's why you keep getting a denial. So all you need to do is, if you have applied before, you don't have to open a new IRCC portal again. Just use your UCI key to continue your application. All of that will be learned or taught in the Travel Complexity Masterclass. So I think that is actually a big pain in my... The essence why we do all of these things, one is to, for me, I just want to say, I want to break the dichotomy that exists around travels. And that is why in the Travel Masterclass, you will learn how to do all of these things all by yourself, and how you too can issue flight tickets and hotels all in your business name using our white label suite. So all of that will be taught. So one, I want to remove the embargo. And some of the financial implications needed or that are requirement for setting up some of these things are cost implicating. And that is more reason why we have taken the heavy lifting. We have done the heavy lifting for everybody. by getting a global IATA license that can cover for anybody in any part of the world. But because of my time, because I still have another section now, I will advise keenly that you make yourself available for the travel complexity master class. If there's anything if there must be any reason why you should miss it, it's the most why you mustn't miss it. So take advantage, explore your chances, so that you stand a better chance to equip yourself adequately, either as a traveling agent or consultant, or even as an applicant. You who wants to make application should also have mastery on what he or she is applying. Imagine if you can do this application all by yourself as a client. You save yourself the trouble because you know what applies and you can get all the necessary and the right information to go about these things. So the Travel Master class is going to be a big win and a gateway to unending success. And one amazing fact about it also is, after attending the Travel Complexity Master class, you can even have a free one-on-one consultation with us. What are you waiting for? Let's keep the section running, keep application coming in, and go in for this one in a lifetime opportunity to alleviate yourself from every form of information demurrage that could impound your future applications and save yourself of impounding costs that comes with this thing. For instance, now, I don't know if this person is in this group. I once had someone who attended our last travel complexity masterclass, and she had someone who wants to apply for caregiving job. So you know she was asked to pay 40 million Nigerian naira just to get a live-in caregiving job with a PR. But now, if you have mastery on how those things work, you and us, we work together to prevent people from falling present to the hands of wrong persons, because you know what works. And if you're an applicant yourself, you have adequate knowledge to make the application all by yourself. So we want to break the dichotomy. I want to remove the barrier that stands in the way of deniers and people being victims to people who are not so schooled or trained in the art of the traveling industry. So I don't know. I think I beg to take my leave. The convener, my candid apologies if you wanted me to stay a little bit longer, because I just have a section in a couple of few minutes now.
Okay,
so
sir.
I sincerely apologize
So
for
we'll
leaving.
let you go, sir.
Okay,
except for
so
somebody that is pleading, somebody from Ghana, that we didn't give them the opportunity to ask their question.
Okay, let's take from Ghana.
Okay.
Ghana, Akwaba, Ghana.
Ebenezer.
Okay,
Mr.
Ebenezer, are you there now?
Mr. Ebenezer? Mr. Ebenezer, can you ask your question? Okay, it's like you are not around. So maybe he can drop it in the on the WhatsApp group. Then we'll provide an answer for him. Thank you very much, Mr. Wells. God bless you.
Thanks so much.
And yes, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for being part of this. I know the time is not enough for us. I know we want to spend more time. We want to be here. We have a lot of questions and a lot of things to say, but there's no problem about that. The next class is coming up. That's why we are going to take 2 days to run a video call like this. So we'll have recorded ones that we'll share with you of the past class, and then you'll have enough time to ask questions. So avail yourself for that class so that you have all details and all the information that you need. Then you have enough time to ask questions and all that. Then for the recordings of this particular one, we'll make it available in our various groups. So you take out time to listen to it and then get more understanding while you prepare your questions for the next class. Thank you very much, everyone. And God bless you.
Thank you so much. Amen.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. You're
Thank
welcome.
you. God bless you.
All right. All right. Good night, everyone. Bye for now. So see you on the 31st, on the 1st, and on the 2nd of August. Hope to have all of you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Sweet dream.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right.